Grady, a tough-as-nails hunter, and his son Blake soak up the beauty of the mountains and venture deeper into the forest, hoping to bag a deer. They don't go far before they spot one, but the deer doesn't stick around for target practice, and Grady misses his shot. When Grady turns around, Blake's gone. The kid wandered off, thinking he's the next big hunter, unaware that he's not the one doing the hunting. Grady finds Blake and scolds him.
If you don't do what I say, you get hurt. Do you want to get hurt?
But he quickly realizes something's off. They're not alone, and whatever's out there is hunting them. They hide in a hunting blind, but the creature isn't playing games. It attacks, forcing Grady to ready his rifle. But then, it stops. A deer catches its attention, and it vanishes into the woods. Through his scope, Grady sees the mauled deer and catches a glimpse of the creature. It's fast, too fast. Grady tells Blake it was just a bear, no big deal. But that night, Blake overhears Grady radioing his neighbor, Dan. Grady thinks the creature is the infected hiker. Dan warns him to stay away, but Grady's determined to protect his son. Fast forward 30 years. Blake's life looks nothing like his dad's. He's in San Francisco with his wife, Charlotte, and their daughter, Ginger. But things aren't perfect. Blake's overprotective, Charlotte's distant, and hasn't really connected with Ginger, and their marriage is strained. When Blake receives an envelope containing his father's death certificate and a key to Grady's old house, it hits him. Life's short, and family matters. He never tried to fix things with Grady, and now he sees this as a chance to reconnect with his own family. The next day, Blake visits Charlotte at work. He tries to convince her to take a weekend trip to Oregon. Charlotte isn't thrilled about spending time at a creepy old house in the woods, but Blake sells it to her, describing the beautiful mountains and the chance for her to bond with Ginger.
There's this valley not far from the farm, between these mountains, and no matter how many times you see it, the view makes you feel like everything's gonna be okay.
Reluctantly, she agrees, and they pack up the car and hit the road. They finally make it to the woods, but things don't go as planned. The road just ends, and there's a gate to a property Blake doesn't recognize. They spot a man in a hunting blind, the same one Blake and his dad hid in years ago. The man introduces himself as Derek, the son of Grady's old friend, Dan. Derek remembers Blake and warns them to stay inside after dark. There's no power here. He insists on helping them find Grady's property. Blake agrees, but Charlotte is uneasy about a stranger in the woods offering unsolicited help.
He's opening.
Stop.
Hey there, cutie.
There are things you have to come to terms with up here.
We're pretty tough people.
To me, you don't seem so tough. That's a good thing. It means you got a good life.
Night falls, and Blake's driving toward his dad's property when a creature on two legs runs them off the road. Their truck tumbles down a hill and gets stuck in the trees. Derek opens the door and falls out, injuring himself. Charlotte and Ginger manage to escape, but before Blake can get out, the creature smashes through the window, scratches Blake's arm, and drags Derek away. Derek's not making it out alive. Blake, Charlotte, and Ginger bolt toward the house, the creature hot on their heels. Blake gets his family inside, locks every door and window, and then heads to the basement to turn on the generator. The lights flicker on, and for a moment, it feels like they might be safe. But they know the creature's still out there. All they have to do is wait it out and leave in the morning. Ginger's terrified, so Blake calms her down and puts her to sleep. Blake heads to the basement and tries to call for help on an old radio, but no one answers. Meanwhile, Charlotte searches for supplies and finds some car keys. Blake notices a strange smell. It's coming from old meat stored in the basement. He takes a bite and his tooth falls out. But it gets worse. Charlotte notices the scratch on Blake's arm has turned into a nasty, bloody wound. She bandages it, but she can't shake the feeling that something's terribly wrong. Blake starts sweating profusely, and his senses go into overdrive. He hears noises upstairs and finds a spider crawling in the closet. Then, he sniffs out the creature lurking outside. He follows the smell to the door, but the creature grabs him through the doggy door. Charlotte comes to the rescue with a hammer, forcing the creature to let go. Blake passes out and wakes up to find Charlotte in the basement, making strange noises on the radio. She's speaking clearly, but Blake can't understand her. He can't talk either. He loses control of his body and has an accident. Charlotte knows something's horribly wrong, but she doesn't know how to fix it. She puts him to bed, but then Blake realizes his hair is falling out. Charlotte brings Blake a notepad. He scribbles, "I'm dying." Seeing him so vulnerable, Charlotte breaks down, confessing her love and begging him not to leave. But Blake can't understand her anymore. Not her, not Ginger. He's slipping away, and there's nothing she can do to stop it. Charlotte checks Blake's wound and sees it's gotten worse. Blake catches a glimpse of it, and in a horrifying moment, starts gnawing at his own wound like a wild animal. Charlotte realizes they can't wait until morning. She grabs the car keys, a spare battery, some jump ropes, and a kitchen knife. She quietly gets Blake and Ginger into the abandoned old truck parked outside. But Blake's not looking so good. His teeth are sharper, his eyes are darker, and he's turning into something not human. After several attempts, Charlotte starts the engine, but before they can escape, the Wolfman smashes through the windshield and breaks the stick shift. The family bolts, making it to the top of a nearby greenhouse. But the Wolfman isn't giving up. He tears through the structure, and the family realizes their nightmare is far from over. Blake signals to Charlotte and Ginger to make a run for the house. He uses himself as a decoy, leading the Wolfman into the woods. Charlotte and Ginger make it to the house, but Ginger's heartbroken about leaving Blake behind. However, she's relieved when Blake returns, but he's not the same. He's lost most of his hair, grown fur on his body, and looks like he's halfway to becoming a full-on Wolfman. Ginger tries to talk to him, but he can't understand her. Instead, he freaks her out by vomiting a severed finger, the Wolfman's finger. Then he tries to attack Charlotte, but Charlotte stands her ground, and Blake calms down, almost like he recognizes her. He tries to leave, ashamed of what he's become. But as he opens the door, the Wolfman bursts in and attacks him. The two Wolfmen brawl in the living room, a brutal monster fight. Blake, younger and stronger, rips out the Wolfman's throat, finally ending it. But then, he sees the tattoo on the Wolfman's arm and realizes it's Grady, his dad. Blake retreats, and Charlotte pieces it together. The Wolfman was Blake's father, and he passed the sickness to Blake. Outside, Blake fully transforms into a Wolfman. He's lost control, but somehow figures out how to turn off the generator. Now, he's hunting his own family. Charlotte fends him off with a kitchen knife and runs with Ginger to hide in a barn. But Blake breaks in. Charlotte and Ginger don't see him, but using his night vision, Blake spots them. When he makes his move, he steps into a bear trap Charlotte had set earlier. But that doesn't stop him. He chews his own foot off and chases after them. Charlotte and Ginger make it to a hunting blind, where Charlotte grabs a rifle from the crash scene. Blake climbs up but doesn't attack. He just watches them. Ginger tells Charlotte that Blake just wants this to end. Charlotte points the rifle at him, but she can't pull the trigger until Blake lunges at her. She fires, and Blake's life slips away, right in front of their kid. Charlotte and Ginger stay by his side as he dies, a heartbreaking end to their nightmare. The film ends with Charlotte and Ginger walking hand in hand, looking out at the beautiful mountains. It's the same view Blake's father once showed him, and the same one he promised to show them. A bittersweet moment, reminding us that even in the darkest times, there's still beauty to be found. Like what you just watched? Don't forget to like and subscribe for more spine-chilling recaps. You won't want to miss any of our videos. See you in the next one, if you dare.
So what's my job?
To keep our daughter safe.
That's right. And what's your job?
To read minds.
Can you guess what I'm thinking right now?
I love my little girl.
That's amazing. How do you do that every time?